All right, hello. Welcome back to another edition live from Drew's house. Hope you're all doing okay out there. Drew Moholland, my wife, Sarah Conway. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
What's going on, Sarah?
Nothing much.
Started our morning with a little hike.
We went hiking this morning. Got lost again.
We didn't get lost.
Yes, we did.
I knew exactly where I was.
Yeah, but we didn't make it to where we were supposed to be going.
Yeah, well,
So you didn't know exactly where
where really were we supposed to be going?
we were going to
The
where
top.
we usually, like the top where you have the view.
Yeah, but sometimes you get detoured a little bit.
We didn't make it there, so.
You were more worried about getting back, and I knew exactly where we were.
Okay. So we weren't lost at all.
You think I got lucky
Lucky with what?
getting home?
Kind of, yeah.
No, I had it the whole time.
You told me if I had a quarter for every time you said, I know exactly where we are. And I knew you had no idea where we were.
I had a good feeling, like I knew generally where we were. You wanted to go the completely wrong direction to get back to the home parking lot.
No, I didn't want to go the other direction.
You wanted
I did
left.
want to.
I wanted right.
I did
right.
want to keep going on the main path until we got to the part where we knew, and you wanted to go up on small trails.
You know who else knew where we were?
Henry.
Henry and Mookie. The dogs know.
Henry definitely knows. We've gotten lost before, and he's like showed us the right path and everything.
Very good. Well, this is fun. So I got a great guest today.
Yeah.
Jon Keller, who I know very well. I don't think have you met him in person?
I haven't met him. No,
No.
but I watched him.
I think we all watched him. Have watched him. He's as good as it gets, and he's got a big night ahead of him, moderating the debate between Congressman Kennedy and Senator Markey. How about that?
That's very exciting.
Ed Markey, the longtime incumbent here and trying to be unseated by Congressman Kennedy. It's an interesting race because I think a lot of people are wondering, where do these two really differentiate? They both have a lot of respect for each other, seemingly. So we'll ask Jon all about that. And I also want to ask him what it's like moderating these big debates. So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited. And I think, are you going to stay or are you going to get out of the way?
I'm going to get out of your way so you can do it.
You're never in my way. I enjoy you here.
I usually don't have too much to add, though, so I think I just
you prefer the beginning segment of the show, do you? All right. Well, let's bring in Jon. I think he's ready to go. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Jon Keller. All right. We bring in WBZ TV's Jon Keller now, an old friend of mine. Jon, how are you?
Good. I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Doing good. Let's start with the general question. How is quarantine bed? You getting through it okay?
I mean, it's keeping me out of trouble.
That's true.
Knock wood, my kids are grown and gone, so it's just me, my wife, and the dog.
Yep.
So I've been lucky that way. Don't need to worry about school, although I'm worried about it on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
And I got to say, my bank account is a little fatter because I'm not going out to eat.
Yep.
And I haven't had a cold or a sore throat since March because I'm not interacting with other people. And when I'm out, I've got a mask on. So there's maybe a little bit of a silver lining. How are you holding up? I see you got the full beard now.
You got the full beard. I got, I think, the longest my hair has ever been. I'm kind of liking. It's I don't know. It's interesting.
Are you one of these radical Antifa activists I've been reading so much about?
Will you stop it? I do have to. I respect the bookcase behind you. You have the nice style bookcase. Are those the awards in the top shelf too? That's excellent work.
Just a few of them.
This is, I always say when this is like, I think John Legend started this. Did you see that performance he had on the piano with all his Grammy awards?
No, I did not. No.
Hilarious. He had like, all you could see is Grammy awards. It was almost like you couldn't pay attention to the performance.
Just for the record, my wife forces me to have these on the shelf. If it were up to me, they'd be in a box in the basement. I'm so humble. You know how I am.
I do. It actually is true. You are. But no, very, very nice. Well, anyway, so we're both holding up okay. You have a big night ahead of you tonight. It is debate night. Kennedy Markey. Yeah. What are your thoughts here as we approach it?
You know, when you schedule a debate, which occurs months and months in advance, you never know how significant it's going to be. Sometimes the race is a blowout and There isn't much suspense, not this time. The last couple of polls, and I would put an asterisk next to any poll in this race because it's been such a weird race. They haven't been able to campaign in the ways they normally would. The coverage, in a way, has been sort of muted. And so I question, exactly how telling the polls are, even though I'm generally a fan of polling. But last two polls have shown it basically a dead heat. The most recent poll had Markey up by a couple of points within the poll's margin of error. The poll before that had Kennedy up slightly. So the stakes are high, and because of the format I use, I think both these guys are going to come out swinging.
What is that? What are people going to see tonight?
Well, I've had a debate format that I've been using for TV debates in this market for close to 30 years now. And I feel about political debates the same way I feel about a cold beer. There is no such thing as a bad one. However, there are all sorts of different debate formats. Mine consists of just one moderator, not a panel of questioners. Just, if anything, I just think that takes time away from the candidates. You will see me asking the same question of each candidate. There's no gotcha questions or questions specifically focused on one candidate. If Joe Kennedy wants to chew on Ed Markey for how often he is or isn't back in the state, as we've seen him do in previous debates, he's going to have to bring it up himself. I'm not going to do it for him. Likewise, some of the Markey campaign's critiques of Kennedy, he's going to have to bring those. I'm going to ask issue-oriented or relevant questions applied to both candidates. They each get a minute to comment, and then it's a toss-up. It's rebuttal time, open debate. They can question each other directly. They can move on to other topics without me prompting them if it occurs in the natural flow and the topics are relevant. They can go back and refer to things that were said earlier in the debate. The only rules, and you'll see me say this or hear me on WBZ Radio, which is simulcasting the debate tonight. You'll hear me say the only rules are don't talk over one another because nobody can hear what the hell you're saying when you do that, and obey the moderator's directions. And I always tell them, and I tell them this off camera just beforehand, if you follow my directions and follow the simple rules, you're going to have a great debate. You're going to be the toast of the town. If you ignore my directions and break the rules, you're going to enter my cocoon of horror. And I asked them directly, do you want to enter my cocoon of horror live on the air? And no one has ever said yes, Drew.
That seems to be the right play, I would say, yes.
Yeah, absolutely it is. It's like training a dog.
Yeah.
Make eye contact, firm commands, and firm predictable punishments if the commands are ignored.
It seems like the right time to say if my one of my two dogs does get riled up here during the show, that's just life in quarantine. So I'm sure you have experienced a little bit of that.
I'll watch how you handle it, and I'll be happy to critique it for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You mentioned the one moderator. I have actually always been a fan of the one moderator. I use the example that it feels like almost like a soccer match. Soccer has always gone to the one referee. Always had one referee because there becomes a flow of the game. He's in charge, or she, and the whole game has a certain flow to it. And sometimes I feel when there's multiple moderators, part of it is the moderators needing to not make it about themselves, but need to chime in. They feel this pressure to chime in, and the one moderator takes that right away.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of distractions in debates sometimes. I've always felt that a live audience for a debate is a distraction. Even where, presidential debates, they sternly warn the audience, we don't want to hear a peep out of you. But some of these primary debates, it's like it's like an episode of American Idol or something. The crowd's applauding, they're booing, whatever. That chews up time. And look, the bottom line is these debates are for the voters at home.
Yeah.
And study after study shows that voters see tremendous value in these debates. Oftentimes you'll hear people say, I haven't made up my mind. I'm going to watch the debate and see what I think at that point. Because, you know, they're live TV events. There's a lot of pressure on the candidates. So it gives you, the voter, an opportunity to see how well that candidate handles the pressure. Are they quick on their feet? Particularly, Kennedy and Markey are competing for a seat in the United States Senate. That's a gigantic debating society, right? That's all it is. So, you know, sometimes I take heat after my debates because, well, candidate A said something false and you didn't correct him. Yeah, that's right. I didn't. Because I want to see, as a voter, is candidate A's competitor, candidate B, alert enough to jump on that and correct him in the ample opportunity that my format provides. So the only way that I want to be invisible in tonight's debate, essentially. The only way I'm going to sort of interfere, as I said, if somebody breaks the rules, I'll have to break out the cocoon of horror. But if somebody says something that I completely don't understand, it's garbled or it's off topic, and I might ask for clarification. Or if someone just abjectly ignores the question, I might say, okay, but could you please address my question? That's it. Otherwise, I don't know if you saw it, but 2 years ago I did the first debate between Elizabeth Warren and Jeff Deal, the hapless Republican challenger to her reelection there. And I asked one question, and the two of them went for 25 minutes. They took turns. They didn't talk over each other. It was an interesting debate, and they just so happened they kept moving to relevant topics. Best half hour as a debate moderator I ever spent. I'm not going to get in the middle of that because this is giving the information I think the voters want.
Wow, perfect. That's great insight right there. Again, joined here by Jon Keller, WBZ TV, moderating the big Kennedy Markey debate tonight. I wonder, I think a lot of you probably know basically what you're going to ask going in, or at least how you're going to get the ball rolling. I would imagine maybe things take different directions. I don't know if you ad-lib that set list a little bit as you go, but I wonder, what do you think the people of Massachusetts are most interested in tonight? Because I think one of the big things about this race is people are trying to find the differences. It seems like two guys that have a lot of similar platforms, even I think have a lot of respect for each other. I think that's the thing for a lot of voters, is what differentiates these two.
Bingo. It's confusing when, look, each candidate has their hardcore supporters. They know who they're voting for. They know they believe the other guy is either washed up or Satan or somewhere in between, and that's where they are. Okay, fine, I get that. But for everybody else, it's like, why, who, what's the difference? As you put it, what's the difference? And so I think that's definitely going to be a focus. They've already had 4 televised debates. And judging from the split decision in the polls and from what I hear from people like you and others, that there still hasn't been a clear answer to that question. So I'm going to do my best, I think, to get at that. And then otherwise, look, I've watched all the other debates and taken note of the topics that are brought up. There's been a lot of redundancy. But I try to avoid that. Maybe get into some topics that haven't been brought, or in a way that hasn't been brought forward. And, you know, part of the goal of the questions, while it's unlikely there's any question you could ask, up to and including boxers or briefs, that they haven't already been asked, you can try. And in so doing, maybe you get them to drop the veil a little bit, drop the prepackaged spin, and responding. And again, you know, I want my U.S. Senator to be a man or a woman who can react, who shows good judgment under pressure, and when confronted with something. I mean, right now, our political establishment and the entire country is being confronted with something unprecedented that no one's ever dealt before. Everyone's ad-libbing, right? So come on, let's see tonight, you guys, how well you ad-lib when a topic is raised that maybe you don't have an automatic cassette that you just drop in, or I'm dating myself now, or a thumb drive that you can just plug right in and regurgitate the canned answer.
We have a lot of high school kids on this show, so the people that
they wouldn't know what a cassette is.
They have no idea. We'll explain this later, I think. It's music related here. One thing, probably the last one here on the actual debate tonight. How about this campaign in general? What do you see as the kind of skeleton in the closet? Might be the wrong term, but I know we've had a couple moments. Ed Markey was hit last week with that the Pace University student there from Easton who was killed, and his father spoke up, and
DJ Henry,
DJ Henry on Twitter. And I felt like that was kind of a in-your-face, harsh moment against Ed Markey. And then, of course, Kennedy's been kind of bashed for, even in these debates, for not really defining himself, and just kind of thinking maybe he can take this just by being the change candidate. What are your thoughts on the skeletons in the closet, for lack of a better term?
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, 3 weeks to go from today? And of course, early voting has already begun. So if they've got some kind of bombshell or skeleton in the closet they want to throw out, no time better than tonight to do it. But I would say this, that this race occurs in a broader political context, not just here in Massachusetts, but elsewhere, where a younger generation of candidates is doing well in races where you wouldn't necessarily expect them to do well, by making the case that, the older incumbent may be a good guy or a good woman. Yeah. And we're talking about party primaries now, where they're not just trashing each other as Satan. But you know what? It's time for change. Okay? In their TV ads, you see both Kennedy and Markey trying to identify themselves. They're both out there marching with street protesters, protesting police brutality and racism. They're trying to identify themselves with this call for change, which is not just coming on from younger people. A lot of people are interested in, are losing patience with the status quo. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. So just the other day, we saw a congressional primary in Missouri where the longtime incumbent, an African-American man, was ousted by a young African-American woman who had been active in the Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm. And locally, I think a template for this race up to a point is Ayanna Pressley's upset of Mike Capuano in the congressional race 2 years ago. Another race where it's like, why are you challenging? I remember Barney Frank, the washed up former congressman, was whining about, how dare she? Why is she challenging Mike Capuano? He's got seniority, he's a good guy. And you know what? Ayanna Pressley's slogan was, change can't wait. And there were a lot of other factors that played into that upset, but at the core of it, she nearly beat Capuano in Somerville, his hometown, where he had been the mayor for many years. Mm. So that really is the same argument that Joe Kennedy is making. Change can't wait. I'm younger, I'm hipper, I bring more energy, and look at the status quo. God bless you. Thanks for your service. Here's a gold watch. Get out. You haven't fixed the problems. That's what he's saying. Of course, Markey's rebuttal is, hey, I've always been an agent of change on the environment, on nuclear proliferation. I've done the job to the best of my ability, and I have plenty of energy to continue to do it. And at the beginning of this race, a lot of people thought Kennedy jumping in, that Markey wouldn't even continue, that he would bail out. He's demonstrated a lot of vitality and grit, if you will, by not just hanging in there, but making it a real race. So, I expect the contours of that broader argument to find their way into tonight's debate, Drew.
It'll make for a fascinating night. Again, WBZ TV's Jon Keller joining us, moderating tonight's debate. I would be remiss not to ask you about things on a national level here. What a time to be alive, watching politics in 2020 through a pandemic. Let's start there. Has the campaign life changed forever?
With the way campaigns are run, you mean?
Yeah, who knows how long we're going to be in an actual pandemic for, but I obviously it's changed this time around. But yeah. I do feel like we might be looking at a long run change, and whether this virtual becomes more of a role, or your take.
Yeah, well, one can only hope that the demise of the national political conventions is permanent. I've gone to too many of those, more of them than I want to remember. And I hate them. They're horrible.
Is that bad?
Haven't you been to one?
I have not. Well, no.
Well, you're lucky, man. Lucky. 2 perfectly good weeks taken out of your summer.
Yeah. You
go to some city that's strategically key in the fall, where it's always sweltering hot, because it's July or August, and all it really is an orgy for VIPs and high roller donors who come in and start gobbling up shrimp and swilling free booze in hospitality suites and in their skyboxes in the arena. And it's an orgy kind of like a high school prom for members of the media, thousands of whom descend on a site where there is essentially no news occurring.
Yeah.
And they all run around interviewing each other, and it's just a nightmare that sheds no light on anything. It's a staged infomercial for the candidates. Why not just do it virtually? So I'm happy about that. As far as campaigning in general, look, we will get a vaccine. We will learn how to live with this without it taking out hundreds of thousands of people. And when that day comes, I think, we're back to the days of campaign rallies and going door to door, certainly in the local races, that will return. So, but yeah, having the virtual convention, or have the nominee give a speech that's carried on television, that's great. And dispense with all this other garbage. What a waste of time.
What do you make of the whole race to the White House here? Because it seems like as different as these two candidates are, I still see people all over the map. Just it's almost like who's making news today? Who made the mistake today? That sort of thing. What do you make of the race to the White House here? It's coming close,
Well, I learned long ago, back in 2003, when I wrote an article for Boston Magazine, writing Jon Kerry's political obituary, a piece that came out just before he won the New Hampshire primary and swept to the nomination. I've learned not to make hard and fast predictions, okay? Yeah. But I do have a theory about presidential races involving an incumbent. And that is that months and months and months before voting begins, people have basically decided, other than a small percentage of the voters, that yes, I like the way things are going. I'm going to keep this guy in, or no, not getting the job done, out. And then it really takes an unexpected occurrence or something monumental to happen to shake up that dynamic. Now, this year, of course, the event is the pandemic and the collapse of the economy, not to mention the George Floyd murder, the resulting unrest, and the president's reaction to it. I would be absolutely stunned and shocked, barring some unforeseen occurrence between now and Election Day, to see Trump somehow pull this out. You've got, for all intents and purposes, the blood of tens of thousands, potentially 200,000 by election day, Americans, if not on your hands, then on your record. Okay? Mm-hmm. The lying and the spin and the right-wing red meat and the race baiting and the immigrant bashing, all the tricks just don't seem to be working anymore. I mean, the numbers have cratered. So, and I think it's a lucky break for Joe Biden, not the most riveting candidate, as we saw during the primary season. Yeah. It's a lucky thing for him that this campaign has essentially dissolved into Zooms from your basement.
And if it does play out that way, are you concerned about a smooth transition of power?
Well, it won't be a smooth transition in terms of the outgoing administration really cooperating with the incoming one.
Yeah.
I think I feel safe predicting that. I mean, are we going to see the president, in handcuffs and leg manacles, being frog walked out of the White House on January 20th? No, I don't think we're going to do that. I suspect that what you'll see is, look, Donald Trump's record is clear. I've followed his career closely long before he ran for president. I've read all the books about him. He's a marketer. Okay, he's a self-marketer. And he goes from, his critics would say, scam to scam to scam. Whether it was Trump Airlines, Trump Steaks, Trump Vineyards, Trump University, the presidential campaign, and then the presidency. So I think that already, and this will intensify as if, in fact, the polling worsens and defeat looks imminent, I think his focus is on setting up the next thing. And that means bringing as many of his followers that he currently has along with him to whatever his next venture might be, a cable TV network to compete with Fox. Who knows what it might be. Yeah. You want to bring that customer base along with you. It's like a client, a salesman leaves one organization, he or she would like to take as many of their clients along with them to the next one, right? Or they go out on their own. So I think he will definitely foster grievance that, and you're already seeing it, the election's rigged, we were robbed, it's an outrage, blah, blah, blah. And the idea being to excite his core customer base and have them ready to rally behind him in whatever the next thing is. That's what I expect will happen.
Interesting stuff. All right, WBZ TV's Jon Keller. We usually end the show, John. Meet the person, meet the man in this case a little rapid fire. Can you do it?
Let's see. Briefs. No, okay, go ahead.
No. I have to ask the questions here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So first, I know it's unusual for you, right? You're getting ready for a big night.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite musician?
The Tower of Power.
All right. That's
Everyone knows who they are, right?
I do. Yes.
Yes.
The Tower of Power was actually. I do have a Tower of Power story in my back pocket, but we're not going there.
I want to hear it.
It's from my dad. I don't think I'm going to get it right, but no, let's not do it. Favorite movie?
Okay. Well, can I pick two? Comedy and drama?
Sure.
Comedy, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's from the 1960s. It's got everybody in it, every prominent comedian of that era. And it's about a bunch of people who are present when an old gangster dies and he blurts out the secret to finding buried treasure. It's under a big W in Santa Rosita Park. And they all hear this, and then they all start competing to see who can get there and get the treasure first. It's about greed, and it's hilarious. It's a mad, 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 mad world.
Okay.
Drama, gotta go with The Godfather.
Yeah. Any particular?
Greatest movie ever made.
Original?
What?
The first Godfather?
The first, although Godfather 2 was fantastic, and when they merged them together, like you sometimes see. That's great. Godfather 3, must avoid. One of the worst movies ever made.
I just wanted a clarification on that. That's all. Back to the music theme, favorite concert you've ever been to?
Well, you know, obviously any one of the 50 or so Tower of Power shows that I've seen, but setting them aside, again, I want to pick two.
Okay.
I saw Sting with the Police at the old Boston Garden right after their big hit album landed. And I didn't really know much about them. I knew I liked the music. He was one of the most riveting on-stage performers I've ever seen. And I've seen Wilson Pickett and James Brown in concert. So they're just phenomenal. And the other one might surprise you. I went to see Gladys Knight and the Pips at the Berkeley Performance Center a decade or so ago. And it was fantastic. Gladys Knight is one of the most underrated female soul singers of all time. So there's a couple for you.
I have a hot take on Sting that I don't think many people share. I'll see if you yell at me or appreciate this. I kind of like Sting's solo career even a little bit better than the Police.
You know, I haven't heard much of his music. I just, you know, I'm just sitting here listening to my T.O.P. albums, basically. But, yeah, he's brilliant. He posted a thing online recently that was in support of some charity. I might have the song wrong, but it was him on solo guitar singing You've Got a Friend, I think it was.
I haven't heard it.
See if you could find it. It was on behalf of some charity.
Okay.
And I mean, the guy is just brilliant.
Yeah.
He's absolutely brilliant, charismatic performer. Love him.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, you are no stranger to, I am sure, like everybody on TV, they get bad things called their way. What's the worst thing you've ever been called, email or in person?
The worst thing.
Do you ever block? Do you just block all that stuff out?
Oh, I have at least 400 people muted on Twitter. I don't block them. I don't block them. I mute them. Oh, because that way, these are the type of people who, left to their own devices, would abuse an animal, or, you know, or litter, or go out without a mask on. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And so my feeling is, I don't let them think that I'm still seeing their garbage, and it ties them up. It keeps them busy.
Okay.
And so if they're tweeting vile garbage at me, they're not kicking the dog or whatever else it is they might do.
Okay.
So yeah, and I get a fair amount of hate mail. When you do political commentary, you get a fair amount. I guess I don't know, communist?
Oh, yeah. It's not.
And
it's gotta be
it's kind of amusing, actually, but I am the farthest from a communist you could possibly imagine.
People like to throw around the communist thing, don't they?
I don't think often they know what it means.
Yeah.
But what's the worst thing you've ever been called?
I don't know. What did you call me to start the show? What did you say? It was
an Antifa terrorist.
Oh, yeah. I probably terrorist is up there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's not good. Not good.
Funny. Favorite subject in school?
Spelling.
Spelling.
I was the champion speller of my early grades.
Is that right?
Always been a good speller. Yeah.
You like the countries of origin there.
What do you mean?
Isn't that what they always ask, that the origin of the word or whatever?
Oh, that. No, I mean just like spelling bees and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what don't they usually look for hints in the word, and they ask all these questions.
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, no, I never got to that level, although I do admire those kids in that spelling bee. They're unbelievable. But I also liked writing. The best, the most meaningful educational experience I ever had was my 8th grade teacher, Miss Caudill. Every morning before school started, she'd have us all sit at our desks, and she'd hand out sheets with 25 sentences on them, and we had to parse them for grammar.
Wow.
Where's the subject? Where's the verb? Where's the predicate? You know, and it was hot. We hated it. It was a nightmare. By the end of that year, I could instinctively know when I read something or wrote something whether the sentence was grammatically correct.
Yeah.
And that has, since so much of my work over the years has been based on writing, that was, I love you, Miss Caudill, up in heaven.
No, it's great how you remember all those great teachers, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
They lasting impacts. And the writing really is the foundation of everything, certainly we do in the news business, right?
Yeah.
And lastly, I do wonder, what is the best career advice you ever got for the kids that want to be in the Jon Keller shoes someday?
Well, learn how to write.
Yep. See?
Okay. And don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I was told very early on that my voice was not suitable for broadcasting.
Yeah.
And that is true, but it turns out the suitability of your voice is not necessarily an impediment to having a career in broadcasting. So yeah, listen to your critics, but don't take no for an answer.
You're not big on I told you so's, are you? Going back to those people that told you no? See, look where I am now.
My very existence is a rebuke to those people, Drew.
Very nice. Do you still get jazzed up for these debates tonight? I mean, do you feel that adrenaline in the hours leading up to it?
Yeah, I do. It's a big responsibility. It takes a lot of work. But, I think they're the single most valuable element of political campaigns. Again, because they're really, if you think about it, the only unscripted element. Campaigning, campaign speeches, even interviews, which can sometimes be a little more revealing, but at no other point do the candidates stand under the hot lights in front of live TV cameras and are forced to defend themselves and explain themselves and communicate directly with people at home. And it's in a setting where people at home can relax and really listen and take notes. One thing I'm interested in, I got to check back with you on this. Of course, the debate is live on Channel 4, WBZ TV, streaming on CBSN Boston, but then simulcast on WBZ News Radio 1030. And by the way, also, it's being carried on C-SPAN around the country. But going back to the first presidential TV debates, the famous Kennedy-Nixon debates, people who watched that first debate on television scored it as a knockout win for Kennedy because Nixon looked awful, he was sweating, he didn't look good, and Kennedy was cool as a cucumber. People who heard it on the radio thought Nixon did much better.
Wow, yeah.
Over the years, I have found this to be, something that happens sometimes. So I'm very interested to hear from people after the debate who heard it on BZ radio, what they thought, and kind of compare and contrast with the reaction to the video of it.
That's fascinating. Yeah, we'll have to follow that up on that. I think that'll be
because, as you know, radio is a completely different experience.
Yeah.
From TV, and anyway. Yeah, we'll see what happens. That might be an interesting story for you guys. Absolutely. Well, Jon Keller, I will never hear Tower of Power without thinking of you. I don't think, which is great. It's the first time we've had that as an answer on this show, which is. Do you want me to sing a little Tower of Power? I don't know. Do we? You're still a young man, Drew. Ooh, don't waste your time. How's that? Beautiful. The rest, I'll open the debate with the rest. How's that sound? Dedicated to me and the show. I appreciate it very much. The story was, I think my father and my uncle, they had a chance to see him. They were West Coast, right? I think it was in California. Yeah, Oakland. Yeah, so I think it was when they were just coming up, had a chance and had a fake ticket. Oh, you still there? There you are. And ended up getting a fake ticket to the club and couldn't get in. It was a horror story. Very bad situation, but that's my Tower of Power. Details are blurry for me at the moment, but I think they're coming through next year. Maybe the Lowell concert series, must see live. greatest soul band around.
Let's hope that we can get back to live music in time for that, right?
Tell me about it.
The drive-in thing works. I've done a couple drive-in shows. Those are fun.
Oh, yeah.
They give you the parking spot next to you. So you get out of your car, people you're with, and that's your spot.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Jon Keller, have fun tonight. Stay safe, stay healthy. All the best to the family, all right?
Thanks for having me, and please pass along my best wishes and love to all my friends in the WBZ newsroom.
Will do. We'll be looking forward to hearing you on the radio tonight and seeing you on TV for those of you who are in the living room. Thanks, Jon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Drew.
All right, there you have it. WBZ TV's Jon Keller getting set for the big Kennedy marquee debate tonight. Should be fun. It's interesting. Isn't it interesting to hear that behind the scenes talk about the, how to run a debate and how he runs a debate and how he does it differently than other moderators? I thought that was pretty cool. So, and he's just an interesting guy in general. He has great takes on whether it be the Senate races or the presidential campaigns and all that stuff. And Jon is just a great guy. I got to work with him when we were all in the WBZ newsroom in Brighton. Of course, I am no longer in there in Brighton. That's it's still TV is there. Big space for them. So, but WBZ TV, they do a great job over there, and they will do a great job tonight. Jon specifically moderating this debate. So hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Big thanks to my wife, Sarah Conway, getting the show started with us. And that was fun. All right. Live from Drew's house, another edition. We will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye now.